can you explain just what do we mean by gamification? Are we talking about getting on like the back in the day Nintendo kind of a game? Are we talking about gamification in the learning context? What can you help us understand what do we mean by that?
Sure. I'm going to divide this into two parts. One is the layman version and one is kind of the academic definition, right? The layman version is essentially any experience where we've been learning, playing games as from the time we are toddlers, right? And that's how we've been learning. And we've been learning either by playing games, observing games, being part of a game in many, many forms. The word gamification was coined essentially to signify anywhere where elements of game design are incorporated into any experience, right? Here we are talking about learning, but a loyalty program by an airline or a hotel is also gamification, right? When you walk into Starbucks and you get your card stamped for the 4th coffee and say 2 more coffees you get and you get a free coffee, that's gamification. So essentially, these are all elements of games, whether it is rewards, points, being a leader, being a champion, badges that you get for achieving something. All of these are essentially were always part of games, elements that have been pulled from a game environment and incorporated into a learning environment is gamification of learning, right? Now, it takes two sides. One is where the learning is a game itself. So that you can call as a learning games. It's a separate subtopic called serious play, where a game is designed and everybody takes part in that game, and that game experience is then deconstructed later to learn. So if I were to use a very simple example, say you're playing a game of cards, you pick any game of cards. If before you play this game of cards, somebody teaches you how to play, right? That is a basic learning course where the teacher is teaching you, hey, Nikhil, if you want to play Rummy, if you want to play Teen Patti, you want to play poker, here are the steps. Here is how you should play. At the end of that learning episode, whatever that episode might be, if there is a quiz or there are situations, Nikhil has thrown this card. You have these 5 cards. Which one will you want to throw? And that is incorporated into a real game situation. And then there is a quiz. And at the end, there are points. There are 10 people who are going through that course. And Nikhil has come out on top. That's gamification of learning. If I were to play the game of Rummy, let the game being played by 5 people. And at the end, there is an outcome. Or even there is no outcome. Even the game is stopped. And I ask Nikhil, hey, Nikhil, at this point in time, you threw this card. What were you thinking? When Bhaskar threw this card, why did you choose to this card? And when Nikhil says, I wanted to play it safe. I didn't want to take a chance. And as the same question is posed to Bhaskar, I said, I wanted to see if by doing this, what Nikhil will do. There, I'm using the card game as a medium of learning to extract other things, whether it is decision-making, strategy, whatever those might be. So this is really the distinction in a very layman language between a course, learning course, gamification of that learning course, or where the game itself is a learning medium. That's game-based learning. In a very layman term, that's what it means. In an organization context, if you go through a course and the course itself is designed in a manner that it feels like a game, there is Nikhil Superman, right, who is fighting the evil forces. And in order to escape a room that is where he has been locked in by the evil forces, he has to unlock this door. And to unlock that door, he has to complete a challenge. And the challenge is built around some content that I want that Nikhil to learn or someone to learn. And therefore, I built a story around Nikhil, the superhero, who has to vanquish the enemies. And to vanquish the enemy, he has to complete these 5 challenges. And when he does so, whoever does so tops the leaderboard and becomes the champion, right? Is essentially what gamification is really about.